荧幕上大家可以非常清楚的看到 Rupa Goswami Sanatana Goswami 在 Vrindavan 的图片。
Okay, and during Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami, he expressed the importance of sadhu sangha.
在 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 教导 Sanatana Goswami 的过程当中，讲到了 Sadhu Sangha 与圣人联谊的重要性。
Lord Chaitanya explained how devotional service begins, and it begins with association with devotees or sadhu sangha.
就 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 谈到了奉爱服务，奉爱是如何开始的？奉爱是开始于与 Sadhu Sangha 与圣人的联谊。
And then he gave this very nice verse that you see on your screen now.
然后他给出了在荧幕上大家可以看到的这个非常美好的诗节。
Because of time, I'll just ask you to read the translation.
由于时间的缘故，我只让请你读一下译文。
Read.
So, Gumaraj,
Please read.
The screen doesn't show the verse.
Oh, gosh.
So could you, yeah.
Yes. The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with advanced devotees.
对 Krishna 的奉爱服务的，从事对 Krishna 奉爱服务的原因，根本的原因就是与精进奉献者的联谊。
Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens,
即便是一个人对 Krishna 的爱被得以唤醒。Yes, now we can.
Association with devotees is still most essential.
与奉献者的联谊仍旧是至关重要的。
The reason I'm showing this to you on your screen is because it's very much connected with the story of Mucukunda.
我之所以给大家这个诗节呈现在荧幕上，是因为这个诗节跟 Mucukunda 的消时光是息息相关的。
Mucukunda became a great devotee of Krishna.
Mucukunda 成为了 Krishna 的伟大的奉献者。
He became such a great devotee of Krishna that Krishna came to find him and show himself to him and reveal his identity to him.
他成为了如此伟大的奉献者，乃至于 Krishna 亲自显现在他面前，向他揭示他自己。
And Mucukunda had never even met Krishna before.
在 Mucukunda 见到 Krishna 之前，他没见过 Krishna 本人。
Krishna gave him a benediction that he could ask for anything that he wanted. And how fortunate was Mucukunda?
Krishna 给予赐福了 Mucukunda， 说到了，你可以从我这里获得任何你想要的祝福。所以可以看到 Mucukunda 是多么的幸运。
What was the seed that made Mucukunda so fortunate?
那到底是什么样的根本的原因，使得 Mucukunda 变得如此的幸运呢？
Just like you see on the screen, it was sadhu sangha.
就是大家在荧幕上看到的这个诗节，那就是与 Sadhu Sangha 圣人的联谊。
Now read the whole translation again, please.
Yes, Gumaraj. 从事对主 Krishna 的奉献服务的根本原因是与进步的奉献者联谊。即便在一个人对 Krishna 沉睡的爱被唤醒时，与奉献者的联谊仍旧是至关重要的。
He had the very fortunate association with Gargamuni.
他非常幸运的得到了 Gargamuni 的联谊。
Now, some of you know who Gargamuni is.
在座的奉献者们当中，有一些知道 Gargamuni 是谁。
Gargamuni was a very celebrated Vaishnav in Mathura.
Gargamuni 是在 Mathura 这个地方非常崇高的奉献者。
For example, Gargamuni is the one that did the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram.
比如 Gargamuni 正是那一位给 Krishna 和 Balarama 做起名仪式的这位奉献者。
And Gargamuni also did the horoscope for Mucukunda.
而且 Gargamuni 也曾经为 Mucukunda 读过他的天宫图。
You will find Mucukunda's name in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as coming in the line of the Surya dynasty, or the same dynasty that Ramachandra was in.
大家可以在圣典博伽瓦坛第9篇，当大家读到 Surya 王朝的时候，就能够看到 Mucukunda 的名字也出现在了里面。
And Krishna came in the Moon dynasty, a different dynasty than Ramachandra did.
而主 Krishna 是显现在月亮王朝，跟主 Ramachandra 是显现在太阳王朝。
But when Gargamuni gave the horoscope reading of Mucukunda, he told him some very wonderful things about Krishna.
当 Gargamuni 给 Mucukunda 解读他的天宫图的时候，他非常的揭示了向他揭示了 Krishna 跟他之间的这个交流。
Gargamuni informed him, one day you're going to meet Krishna face to face. How fortunate you are.
Gargamuni 是这样跟他说到的：终有一天你会面对面的见到 Krishna， 因此你是多么的幸运啊！
Gargamuni inspired Mucukunda's heart with such devotion to Krishna that for the rest of his life he was simply hankering to see Krishna.
在那个时候 ，Gargamuni 已经激励 Mucukunda 对 Krishna， 激发了 Mucukunda 对 Krishna 的愤爱。因此，从那个时候 ，Mucukunda 在他的余生一直都渴望着对 Krishna 的愤爱，追求着对 Krishna 的愤爱。
Much later, Mucukunda met Krishna face to face, and we're going to hear his story.
在那很久之后 ，Mucukunda 终有一天面对面的见到了 Krishna， 这就是我们今天要讲述的这段逍遥时光。
This is described in chapter 51 of Krishna book as well as Srimad Bhagavatam.
这个逍遥时光是在圣典博伽瓦坛第10篇，或者是 Krishna 至尊歌手神快乐的源泉第51章讲到了。
Let's go back into an earlier section of 10th canto when Krishna starts to enter in Mathura after he leaves Vrindavan.
我们现在稍微来回到当 Krishna 离开 Vrindavan 去到 Mathura， 进入到 Mathura 的这个过程。
Kamsa had a plan to kill Krishna.
Kamsa 他有他的阴谋计划，要杀死 Krishna。
And Kamsa revealed the whole plan to Akrura. And Akrura went to Vrindavan to bring Krishna to Mathura, so Kamsa could kill him.
Kamsa 把他的这个计划向 Akrura 全盘托出，于是 Akrura 去到 Vrindavan， 将 Krishna 带到了 Mathura。这样呢 ，Kamsa 就有机会去杀死 Krishna。
But one of the ways that he wanted to kill Krishna failed. You see in the painting, the huge elephant named Kuvalyapita, Krishna finished him.
那其中Kamsa 的一个杀死 Krishna 的阴谋计划，就是我们在题目上看到的，他想让这头巨象叫What's the name?
Kuvalyapita.
Kuvalyapita 这头大象去杀死 Krishna， 但是他的这个计划没能得逞，失败了。
The huge elephant Kuvalyapita tried to trample Krishna, but Krishna knocked him down, broke off his tusks, and smashed him with his tusks, and he was dead.
这头巨象 Kuvalyapita 他想用他的腿来碾死 Krishna， 但是 Krishna 他纹丝不动，反而把他的象牙拔了出来，并且将其杀死。
And then he broke off the other tusk and gave the other tusk to Balaram.
后来 Krishna 将他的另一颗象牙也拔了出来，并且将另一颗象牙给了 Balarama。
Both these boys were just 12 years old.
那个时候 Krishna 和 Balarama 才12岁大。
And they walked into the wrestling arena, which was the next event, carrying these two bloodied tusks of an elephant over their shoulder.
于是 Krishna 和 Balarama 他们两个人肩上扛着血淋淋的象牙，走进了下一个地点，那就是摔跤场，走进了摔跤场。
There you see Krishna, the 12-year-old, fighting in wrestling with the huge Chanura, and Balaram over on the side wrestling with Mushtika.
我们在这个荧幕上可以看到 Krishna 与巨大的身材魁梧的
Mushtika
和巨大魁梧的 Mushtaka 进行格斗，而在另一方 Balarama 和身强魁梧的 What's the name?
Chanura.
Charuna 在进行格斗。
Look carefully up on the throne, way in the back, on the right upper right corner. That's Kamsa looking very carefully at this wrestling.
大家可以看到这个荧幕上的这个照片的远处右上角，那是 Kamsa 正在目不转睛地看着他们之间的这场激烈的格斗。
And look over on the left side, they had three brothers. The two wrestlers had three brothers.
大家看看这张图片的左边，这是这两个格斗士的3个兄弟在那里观看着他们的格斗。
Now let's take a closer look at the wrestling pose.
我们现在来看一看 Krishna 和这个 Charna 之间的格斗的近照。
Now let's look even closer. You can see the perspiration on his forehead.
我们大家再往近看一看，甚至就能够看到他们额头上的汗珠。
Krishna's having fun.
Krishna 在那里逗着玩呢。
After some time of playing, Krishna finished him. The three wrestlers jumped up. Krishna finished them. And Krishna jumped up and grabbed a hold of Kamsa.
Krishna 他在那里格斗着玩呢，他没花多长时间就不费吹灰之力的将 Charna 打死了。然后 Charna 的3个兄弟蹦到了 Krishna 面前要杀死 Krishna 也不费吹灰之力的顷刻之间把他们结果掉了。在此之后 Krishna 飞身去到了 Kamsa 的王座上，将他拽了下来。
Look in the background, see all those people who are cheering on Krishna to be the victor.
我们大家可以看看这个背景，那里围观的这些观众们，他们在那里欢呼着 Krishna 的胜利。
So Krishna jumped up on the throne where Kamsa was sitting and knocked him off the throne and grabbed him by the hair and punched him in the head. Finished.
Krishna 飞身跳到了 Kamsa 的王座上，然后把他拽了下来。你看 Krishna 拽着他的头发，然后使劲的打他，猛击他，就这样把 Kamsa 一命呜呼。
Now Kamsa is very powerful, but look at this.
Kamsa 虽然非常的强而有力，但是大家看看这张图片，他被 Krishna 打得落花流水。
Look in the background, there's Balaram laughing.
我们看看在后面 Krishna Balarama Balaram 在那里看着大笑起来。
And Balaram is holding on to one of the tusks of the elephant.
Balaram 的手里还拿着把那头巨象的象牙。
Let's take a closer look.
我们大家看一看这个近照。
And even a closer look.
我们再看看更近的照。
One punch and Kamsa was finished.
Krishna 在那里狠狠地揍他，就这样 Kamsa 被 Krishna 揍死了。
But he wanted to make sure that the audience knew that Kamsa was dead.
但是 Krishna 想要保证这些这些观众们，他们能够实实在在的知道 Kamsa 已经毙命了。
So he grabbed him by the hair and dragged him around the wrestling arena so everyone knew Kamsa is dead.
于是 Krishna 拽着死去的 Kamsa 的身体，绕着这个竞技场走了一圈，让所有的观众看到 Kamsa 已经死了。
The very next thing Krishna did is he went to free his mother and father from the prison of Kamsa.
然后接下来 Krishna 和 Balarama 去到被关押在 Kamsa 的监狱里的他的父母，释放他们。
And under Krishna's direction, Ugrasena was reinstalled on the throne.
然后在 Krishna 的命令下 Ugrasena 又重新立为国王。
After some time, Krishna was sent to school. Krishna and Balaram went to the school of Sandipani Muni. You all remember the story of Sandipani Muni, I'm sure. It was a very nice story.
在此之后 Krishna 和 Balarama 去到了 Sandipani Muni 的学校，就读于他的门下。我想大家一定还记得 Sandipani Muni 的故事，我们曾经讲过。
Meanwhile, there was a problem.
与此同时，有一个问题来了。
The problem was that Krishna, after killing Kamsa, left the two wives of Kamsa without a husband.
的问题就是这样子的，在 Krishna 杀死 Kamsa 之后 ，Kamsa 的两个妻子就成了寡妇了，没有了丈夫。
The two wives or queens of Kamsa went back to their father, who just happened to be Jarasandha.
然后 Kamsa 的这两位妻子、两位皇后，在 Kamsa 被打死之后，他们回到了父亲的家 Jarasandha 那里。
Would you like to know a little bit about Jarasandha's history?
你们想要了解一下 Jarasandha 的一点历史吗？一点生平吗？
Let us hear about Jarasandha's history.
让我们来聆听一下 Jarasandha 的生平点滴吧。
Please read.
Yes. Brihadrata 王 Magadha 的君王没有儿子，尽管他娶了 Kashi 的国王的两个女儿。
So there was a king in the Magadha province that had no son.
这里说到了 Magadha 的君王没有孩子，没有儿子。
So he went to the forest to undergo austerities so that he could have a son.
于是他去到森林里去做了严苛的苦行，目的就是为了得到儿子。
In the forest, he met a certain rishi.
在森林里，他遇到了一位圣人。
His name was Chandra Kaushika Rishi.
这位圣人的名字叫 Chandra Kaushika 圣人。
And now read Chandra
Yes.
Kaushika Rishi.
Yes, Chandra Kaushika Rishi 圣人给了 Brihadrata 一个芒果，交予他的两位妻子，他们吃了便会怀上一个孩子。
There's a mango.
这里是这个芒果。
The mango was cut in half and half was given to each of the 2 queens.
这个芒果被一切为2，然后给了2个妻子吃了。
And after some time, the 2 queens gave birth to a half, a child.
然后一段时间之后，这2位皇后分别生出了半个身体。
Look at the expression on their face. They were very surprised.
大家可以看看这2位皇后脸上的表情，他们分别生下这2个半个身体之后，他们惊讶不已。
So the king didn't know what to do.
所以这个国王也不知道该怎么办了。
So he had the 2 halves of the 2 children taken into the forest and left there.
于是他们把这2个半个身体扔到了森林里，遗弃了它。
The 2 halves of the 2 children were found by a she-demon named Jara.
那么这2个孩子的半个身体呢，被 Jara 这个女恶魔捡到了。
Out of curiosity, she put the 2 halves of the children together.
然后她非常好奇的将这2个孩子的半个身体合在了一起。
And the 2 halves became 1 child.
然后这2个身体合在一起之后，就是一个完整的孩子。
So Jara somehow knew that these 2 halves that are now 1 son belonged to the king.
然后这个女恶魔 Jara 把这2个半个身体合在之后，成为了整个一个完整的孩子，然后把这个完整的孩子又给了这位国王，这位君王还给了这位君王。
She brought the child to the king and turned the child over to King Brihadratha.
他将这个孩子带到了君王 Brihadratha 面前，交给了他。
She just made 1 request.
但是他请求 Brihadratha 国王答应他的这个请求。
Her request was that the king would name the child after her.
他的请求是请求君王以他自己的名字给这个孩子起名。
And that's how Jarasandha got his name.
这就是 Jarasandha 怎么得到他的名字的来由。
After some time, Jarasandha had 2 daughters.
在一段时间之后 Jarasandha 有了2个女儿。
And those 2 daughters, named Asti and Prapti, married Kamsa.
然后他的这2个女儿 Asti 和 Prapti 嫁给了 Kamsa。
And that's a very interesting story, which we don't have time for, to tell you how it came to be that they became Jarasandha's queen.
这也是一个非常有意思的一个
Kamsa's queen.
Yes， 这也是一个非常有意思的故事。这个故事就讲到了 Jarasandha 的2个女儿 Asti 和 Prapti 如何嫁给 Kamsa， 成为 Kamsa 的2位皇后的。这个故事也很有意思，但由于时间的原因，在这里就不多说了。
But when Kamsa was killed, rather than entering into the funeral pyre of their husband, they ran back to their father.
那么
When
在
Kamsa was killed,
在 Kamsa 杀死之后，这2个女皇后并没有立刻为 Kamsa 举行葬礼，而是立刻跑到了他们的父亲 Jarasandha 那里。
they wanted revenge against the man who had killed their husband, and that was Krishna.
他们想要为 Kamsa 报仇雪恨，杀死 Krishna 这位杀死 Kamsa 的人。
So Jarasandha got into a rage of revenge. He wanted to kill Krishna and the whole Yadu dynasty.
Jarasandha 他想报仇血恨，不仅要杀死 Krishna， 他也想毁灭整个亚度王朝。
And he was very powerful.
而加尔桑塔本人是非常有力量的一位战士。
He gathered together 13 Akshohini divisions of soldiers and marched to Mathura to challenge Krishna and the Yadus.
那个时候，加尔桑达率领了他的13个 Akshohinis， 也就是13个巨型的军团，带着他们要去攻打 Mathura， 要消灭亚度王朝。
How many soldiers for each of the 13 Akshohinis is explained here.
那么这13个巨型的军团，每一个军团到有多是它的布阵是怎样的呢？
Surabhi has a problem with numbers. So we'll just tell you, look on the screen, and so many chariots, so many elephants, so many infantry, and so many cavalry men on horses.
Surabhi 对这个数字比较迟钝哈。那么这个荧幕上我们大家已经看到了，一个 Akshohini 等于21,870辆战车，加上21,870头大象，再加上10,9,350个步兵和65,610个装甲骑兵组成的。
And he had 13 of those.
而他是带着13个这样的巨型的兵团。
And they all marched on Mathura all at once.
而且这13个巨型兵团是在同一个时刻一起来攻打马图拉。
Krishna was really happy.
Krishna 看到之后非常的高兴。
The chivalrous nature of Krishna was engaged now.
现在 Krishna 他的这种骑士精神，现在又可以展示开来了。
He put his arm around Balaram and said, "Now is our opportunity for a wonderful battle."
Krishna 立刻将他的一只臂膀搭在 Balaram 的肩膀上，说道：“我们现在又有机会可以进行一场精彩的战斗了。”
Just by his desire, 2 celestial chariots descended from the sky. Krishna and Balaram got on both the chariots and went to fight with Jarasandha.
就在 Krishna 表达出他的这个愿望的同时，2个天神般的战车从天而降，然后 Krishna 和 Balarama 分别登上了这2辆战车，驾着战车赶到了战场，去迎接这场战斗。
They didn't need any of the Yadu soldiers or military. The 2, Krishna and Balaram, did all the fighting.
Krishna 和 Balarama 他们2个人不用义兵一将，就是他们2个人来对阵整个13个巨型的兵团。并且 Krishna 将他们Krishna 和 Balarama 将他们一网打尽。
And all the horses and elephants and soldiers and infantry and cavalry were finished, except one.
战场上所有的这些大象、步兵、骑兵等等，全都被 Krishna 和 Balarama 一网打尽。战场上结果只剩下一个人幸存下来。
You know who was left?
你们知道没有谁幸存下来了
Jarasandha, standing alone on the battlefield.
Jarasandha 那个时候孤零零地站在战场上。
Krishna smiled and said, "You can go home now."
Krishna 笑着对 Jarasandha 说：“你现在可以回家了，回老家了。”
And Jarasandha was humiliated.
Jarasandha 感到自己受到了羞辱。
On his way back to his capital, he was considering, I should just give up my life. I've been defeated by this little boy.
Jarasandha 在回到自己的首府的路上，他是这样想的： 我应该结果掉自己的生命，因为我被2个孩子，我竟然被2个孩子打败了，我应该自杀。
But his ministers convinced him, no, no, no. It was just one of those things. You weren't ready, and it was just one of those things. Get your army together and go back and defeat Krishna again.
但是他的那些大臣们知道他的这个想法之后，就劝说他：不，你不能这么做，你这个是只不过是你还没有做好充分的准备。现在，请你重振旗鼓，再去跟他们战一战吧，斗一斗吧。
And Jarasandha felt encouraged by his ministers.
加桑的听了大臣们的这些话，他的勇气又立刻被他们鼓舞出来。
So he gathered another huge army, the same size, 13 Akshohinis.
于是加桑达又重振旗鼓，又重新组建了另一个13个 Akshohini， 13个巨型的布阵、巨型的军团。
It was part of Krishna's plan.
这个是 Krishna 的计划 ，Krishna 的这是 Krishna 的计划的一部分。
Krishna appeared in the world to destroy, to annihilate the Maniac kings, and Jarasandha was bringing all of them right to Mathura, and made it really easy for him.
那么 Krishna 显现于世，他的使命，他的活动之一就是铲除这个地球上的那些恶魔般的君王，而加桑达他集结了这些恶魔般的人物士兵们一起来到 Krishna 面前，这更加容易给 Krishna 去消灭他们。
This not only happened a second time, but it happened 17 times.
这种情况不仅仅只是发生了2次，就是加桑达带着他的巨型的兵团被 Krishna 击败2次，而是被 Krishna 击败了17次。
And Krishna and Balaram defeated them every single time, except for Jarasandha, and he sent him back home alone.
而且每一次都是 Krishna 和 Balaram 他们2个人不花一卒一毫一个士兵，他们2个人单枪匹马的应对加桑达和他带的这些巨型军团，每一次都把他们一网打尽，除了加桑达存活下来。然后每一次 Krishna 对加桑达说到了：“你回家去吧。”
If you look up in the sky in the back part of the painting, the demigods are watching with great pleasure.
如果大家仔细看这张图片的话，大家可以看到后面天上的半神人们也观看到每一场战斗。
Now, the geographic location of Magadha is due east of Mathura.
现在我们的这个地理位置表明 ，Magadha 这个地方是离 Mathura 以东，位于 Mathura 以东。
Directly north of Mathura is where the kingdom of the Yavanas was based.
那么，离 Mathura 正北的地方，就是离 Mathura 以北的正北的地方是，是
Yavana.
Yeah, 是 Yavana.
Now, who are the Yavanas?
那 Yavana 是谁呢 ？Yavana 他们是谁呢？
Some of you remember the whole narration of the Dhruva Maharaj story.
大家可能还记得 Dhruva Maharaj 的整个消时光。
We're going to hear more about it during the national holiday.
我们在这个11期间会讲到这整个过程。
But the Yavanas were in the northern direction, and those are the ones who killed Dhruva's stepbrother.
而在位于马图拉以北的 Yavana， 他们杀死了 Dhruva Maharaj 的弟弟。
So much later, one of those Yavana kings came with 3 million soldiers to fight with Krishna.
那么在这之后不久，亚瓦纳他带着他的300万亚瓦纳士兵去跟 Krishna 对战。
Would you like to know the history of Kalyavana?
你们想要了解一下卡拉亚瓦纳的历史吗？
It's very interesting. I'm sure you'll enjoy.
他的这段历史，他的这段生平是非常有意思的。我想你们大家肯定听了之后会十分开心。
One of the seminars that we conducted was a visit to Govardhan Hill. We went all around Govardhan Hill. Remember?
你们大家还记得吗？在我们的前面的一次讲课，在讲到勾尔丹山的飘时光的时候，我们讲到了这一段。
And one of the places that we visited right after Manasi Ganga was the place where a pastime of Krishna was performed with the gopis of taxing the gopis for their milk products. Remember that?
大家还记得吗？我们在讲绕拜勾瓦丹山的过程当中，在讲到了马拉西冈嘎之后 ，Krishna 他和那些牧牛姑娘们上演的收税的消时光，大家还记得这个消时光吗？
The gopis were bringing dairy products and ghee for a yajna that was being performed by Bhagwari Muni, by Govindakund.
那个时候，那些牧牛姑娘们，她们带着这些奶制品，带着这些奶制品，储存在罐子里的奶制品，把这些奶制品带到
Bhagwari Muni.
巴布穆尼在要施行的祭祀。
Bhagwari Muni was the son of Garga Muni.
Bhagwari Muni 是 Garga Muni 的儿子。
And Bhagwari Muni resided in Vrindavan.
Bhagwari Muni 那个时候居住在文达文。
He regularly recited the Vedas and did yajnas for Nanda Maharaj and all the Brijbasis.
他那个时候经常为 Nanda Maharaj 和所有的文达文居民做各种各样的祭祀。
He was one of Garga Muni's sons.
Bhagwari Muni 是 Garga Muni 的一个儿子。
Garga Muni had another son.
Garga Muni 还有另外一个儿子。
The other's son was named Gargya.
他的另外一个儿子的名字叫 Gargya。
Gargya lived in Mathura along with his father. Along with his father.
Yes. 当然 Gargya 那个时候和他的父亲一起住在 Mathura。
Gargya Muni was married.
那个时候 Gargya Muni 已经结婚了。
And one day, his brother-in-law made fun of him.
有一天，他的英兄给他开了个玩笑。
In a
也就是他的妹夫。Yeah.
In a public assembly, he called him a eunuch.
Eunuch 啊，那么这个 Gargya Muni 的妹夫有一次当众叫他这个懦夫，或者
Go ahead.
Yes.
The members of the Yadu dynasty all laughed at Gargya.
那个时候，亚度王朝的人们听到了以后就嘲笑 Gargya。
So it wasn't nice that he was spoken like that, and it wasn't nice that they laughed at him.
那么could you repeat?
Yes, it wasn't nice that his brother-in-law spoke about him in a public assembly like that, nor was it nice that they laughed. The Yadu dynasty members laughed.
Yes. 那么，他的妹夫这样当众的取笑他，叫他那个，当众取笑他，并且这些亚度王朝，听了之后也嘲笑他，这是非常不好的。
So he wanted to get back at the Yadu dynasty.
自从那之后，那么Kalyavana就想报复亚度王朝。
Not Kalyavana. Gargya wanted to get back. Gargya wanted to get back at the Yadu dynasty.
Yes, sorry。那个时候 Gagya 他那个时候就想到要报复亚度王朝，刚才我翻译错了。
He decided to undergo austerities somewhere in the south of India, worshiping Lord Shiva in a very austere way to get a benediction from him.
于是 Gagya 他去到了南印度的一座森林，在那里做严苛的苦行来取悦主希瓦，以便他得到这个祝福。
For 12 years, he ate only powder of iron filings.
Iron filings， 那个时候他连续12年，每天都吃那个铁，就是铁末，磨成的粉末。
Lord Shiva came before him and asked Gargya, "What benediction would you like from me?"
在他做了这样的12年的苦行之后，主希瓦终于显现在他面前，他就问 Gagya， 你想从我这里得到什么样的祝福呢？
May I have a son who will bring terror to the Yadavas?
我能请你祝福我得到一个儿子，这个儿子能够毁灭，能够消灭整个亚度王朝。
Lord Shiva said, "So be it."
主希瓦说：“如你所愿吧。”
So Gargya went back to Mathura.
然后 Gagya 又回到了马出尔。
After some time, there was a king of the Yavana dynasty that had no sons.
在一段时间之后，这个亚万纳的君王那个时候他没有儿子。
And he made a request when Gargya was one time visiting to produce a son with one of his queens who could become the next king.
然后这位君王就邀请 Gagya 去到他的皇宫，邀请 Gagya 和他的一位皇后来生一个孩子，以便这生下的这个儿子能够继承王位，成为未来的国王。
So you see that person in the painting, that was his son, Kalyavana.
那后来生的这个孩子，就是大家在图片上看到的这个人卡拉亚瓦纳。
And Kalyavana was powerful.
卡拉亚瓦纳非常的有力量。
He couldn't find anyone who was an equal match to him.
他能够轻而易举的去跟他的力量相当的人，把他跟他的力量相当的人打败。
One time, Narada Muni was visiting in his kingdom, and he asked Narada, "Who was the most powerful ruling kings on earth today?" Narada said, "The Yadavas."
然后有一次，Narada 去到了这个国王的王国，然后就问到了谁是这个世界上最有力量的人？这位，然后 Narada Muni 说，在这个地球上现在最有力量的人就是卡拉亚瓦纳。
Immediately, Kalyavana came with his 3 million soldiers to fight in Mathura.
于是卡拉亚瓦纳立刻带着他的300万亚瓦纳士兵去攻打马图拉。
And at the same time, Jarasandha was coming from the east.
与此同时，加尔桑达带着他的军队从东边进攻。
Krishna turned to Balaram.
然后那个时候 ，Krishna 转向身，对着 Balaram。
We're being attacked from 2 directions. This could be very serious and dangerous for the Yadu dynasty.
我们现在2个人会背水一战了，因为有2支军队从2个不同的方向发起进攻，这对整个亚度王朝来说是一件非常危险的事情。
You stay here, hold them off, and I'm going to transport all the members of the Yadu dynasty to Dwarka.
你他也就巴拉让他请巴拉让嘛待在马图拉，阻止这2个军队的进攻。与此同时 ，Krishna 他将整个亚度王朝转移到多尔卡。
That's a whole story. We're going to hear about that next week.
这就是这整个故事。下个礼拜的时候，我们还会听到更加详细的内容。
So Krishna returned after everyone was settled in Dwarka.
在多尔卡，每个人被安顿下来之后 ，Krishna 又返回到 Mathura。
And as you see in the painting, Krishna came out and outside the walls of Mathura city, walking alone without any weapons.
我们在这张图片上可以看到 ，Krishna 他走出 Mathura 城堡，独自一人，没有带任何的武器，在那里散步走动。
By Krishna's markings, Kalyavana could understand, that's the one, I have to go get him.
卡拉亚瓦呢一看见 Krishna 身上的各种标志物，他立刻就能认出来，这就是我想要干掉的人。
So what did Krishna do?
那 Krishna 接下来是怎么做的呢？
He did something warriors never do. He ran from the battlefield.
Krishna 他做了任何一个战士都不会做的事情，他逃离了战场，从战场上跑开了。
And he ran just fast enough so that Kalyavana couldn't quite reach him, just out of reach of his outstretched arm.
那 Krishna 他跑的速度呢是这样子的，就在卡拉亚瓦呢，就在卡拉亚瓦呢马上要追到他、抓到他的那一刻 ，Krishna 立刻就逃脱掉了。
Kalyavana said many insulting things to Krishna. What kind of hero are you? I heard so many things about your heroism and fighting skill, and you're running from the battlefield. Stop.
卡拉亚瓦呢一边追逐 Krishna， 一边口出恶言恶语侮辱 Krishna， 说你是什么样的英雄，竟然逃离战场？你是什么样的英雄啊？你别跑！
Krishna just turned and smiled at him.
然后 Krishna 边跑边回过头来，冲着他笑。
So Kalyavana ran faster.
然后卡拉亚瓦呢的越跑越快，
And Krishna ran faster.
那 Krishna 也越跑越快。
And Krishna drew him all the way to a cave that was a very far distance from Mathura.
然后 Krishna 就在前面跑着跑着，把他有意的引到了离马图拉非常遥远的一个山洞里。
Now, some of you know who Dinabandhu Prabhu is. He's the expert of all Braja pastimes.
大家都知道，其中一些奉献者知道 Dinabandhu Prabhu 对文达文的所有的这些逍遥时光都了若指掌。
And he confirmed that the place where Krishna led Kalyavana was 108 kilometers from Mathura.
然后 Dinabandhu Prabhu 确证无疑的说道 ，Krishna 把卡拉亚瓦呢引到了离马图拉108公里之外的那个山洞里。
And there's the town where the mountain that Krishna took Kalyavana to.
图上的这个山的图片呢，正是马图拉把卡拉亚瓦呢带到的那个山洞所在的地方，所在的那个山。
And according to the local people in Dalpur, as well as Dinabandhu, there's the cave entrance.
那么，根据 Dinabandhu Prabhu 所说和当地的人们所说，这个洞就是当年 Krishna 把卡拉亚瓦呢带到了那个山洞里。
Now, after some years passed, because this is a very old photograph, they started blocking off the entrance to the cave.
那么在多年之后，我们可以看到他们这个洞呢，逐渐的被人封起来了。
And now no one can go there at all, but they built a temple up on top of the hill.
但是现在呢，大家可以看到他们在这个山上建了一座庙，大家也可以去到那个山洞里。
When Krishna entered the cave, Kalyavana followed him.
当 Krishna 跑到山洞里的时候，卡拉亚瓦呢在 Krishna 身后穷追不舍，也追到了山洞。
And when he entered the cave, Kalyavana thought, oh, that person sleeping over there, that must be Krishna. He's so tired. He went over and kicked the person sleeping, but it was Mucukunda.
当卡拉亚瓦呢跑到了山洞之后，他看见那里躺着一个人，他想肯定这就是 Krishna。Krishna 累得精疲力竭，躺在了地上。于是他上前就踢了这个人一脚，结果这个人不是 Krishna， 是 Mucukunda 本人。
Now, how did this happen?
那这件事情是怎么发生的呢？Mucukunda 怎么会在这儿了呢？
Mucukunda was a very celebrated, powerful warrior.
Mucukunda 是一位非常杰出的勇士、战士。
He was so powerful that the demigods invited him to come and help them fight against the demons. And so he came and he fought for years and years and years, nonstop.
Mucukunda 他是如此骁勇善战的一位战将，来自于天堂上的半神人们邀请Mucukunda到天堂上去为他们向这个恶魔们对战，然后Mucukunda在天堂里一年又一年、一年又一年的为半神人们作战，去战败那些恶魔们。
After many, many years, finally Kartikeya came, the son of Lord Shiva, and became Mucukunda's replacement.
那么在多年之后，Kartikeya 也就是 Shiva 的儿子，终于出现在天堂。那个时候，他代替了Mucukunda的位置。
The demigods were so grateful to the help that Mucukunda provided that they offered any benediction he wanted.
那个时候，半神人们非常的对这个Mucukunda感激不尽，于是他们纷纷的向Mucukunda说道：“你可以从我们这里得到你任何想要得到的祝福。”
Demigods can only give material benedictions because he got the spiritual benediction already from Gargamuni.
因为那个时候Mucukunda他已经从Gargamuni那里获得了灵性的祝福，而这些半神人们他们只能给出物质的祝福。
So both he, Kartikeya, and Indra gave him benediction upon his request. No one should wake me up, and if they wake me up, they'll die like you see in this painting.
在Mucukunda的请求下 ，Kartikeya 和 Indra 同时祝福了他。这个祝福是任何人不得吵醒他，如果任何人吵醒他的话，他们都会以这种方式死去。
It was a very clever benediction because this way even the demigods wouldn't come wake him up and say, "Come help us some more."
那么这个祝福呢是如此的强大，来自于，Could you repeat?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mucukunda was thinking the demigods might come and wake me up to engage me in more fighting. So I asked for this benediction so they wouldn't come and bother me.
Oh yeah. Mucukunda 是这样想的，可能在我睡着了的时候，这些半神人们还会前来邀请我去为他们作战。所以我请求这个祝福，这样的半神人们以后就不会再来找我去为他们作战了。
And the benediction came true.
而这个祝福真的是实现了。
Instantly, Kalyavana became a pile of ashes.
顷刻之间，卡拉亚瓦呢被烧成了灰烬。
Now you see at the top on the left, Mucukunda was the son of one celebrated king in the Ikshvaku dynasty, or the same dynasty as Lord Ramachandra.
我们在这张图片上的上方的文字里可以看到 Mucukunda 是 Ikshvaku 王朝的 Mandana 之子，那么 Ikshvaku 王朝也正是主 Ramachandra 所显现的王朝。
Here's another painting of the same event.
这是同一件事情的相同的描述的图片。
Now let us hear some of the glories of Mucukunda.
我们现在来分享一下 Mucukunda 的一些荣耀。
He was very devoted to the Brahmanas.
他非常的热爱婆罗门，
He was very true to his vow.
他非常忠实于自己的誓言，
He was selfless.
并且他是没有任何私欲、无私的。
He had a vast kingdom in this earthly realm, and he left it in order to help the demigods.
他在地球上有一个非常庞大的王国，但是为了去帮助半神人们，他立刻放下了他的王国，去为半神人们作战，并肩作战。
When the battle was over, the demigods told him so many decades and centuries had passed on earth, your kingdom is gone. People won't even know who you are.
当他结束了为半神人作战之后，半神人们告诉Mucukunda说，现在多年已经好几个世纪过去了，你再回到你的王国的时候，你的王国已经不复存在了，而且在你的王国的那些人，你都一个都不认识。
The verse speaking about Mucukunda uses this word that means he was very wise, dimate.
在这里面我们可以看到描述Mucukunda所用的一个词叫 dimate。dimate 的意思是睿智，
And he was very humble.
并且他非常的谦逊。
Mucukunda received this benediction from Gargamuni, as you remember, that he would see Krishna.
大家还记得在前面已经讲到了Mucukunda从 Gargamuni 那里得到了祝福，就是他能见到 Krishna。
So how do we understand that that Mucukunda had such a determination to see Krishna, although he had never seen him before?
那么我们如何去了解到Mucukunda他有如此巨大的决心？他虽然以前没有见到 Krishna， 但是他有如此巨大的决心要见到 Krishna 这样的巨大的决心呢？
The seed started from Gargamuni and it became nurtured by service to the devotees, the demigods themselves.
那么这个种子是源自于他跟 Gargamuni 之间的联谊，他得到了 Gargamuni 这位圣人的联谊，然后接下来他又为奉献者做出了服务，为半神人们作战，所以他的奉爱得以了滋养。
After Mucukunda became a pile of ashes, there was this very effulgent personality also in the cave, and Mucukunda wanted to know, who are you?
在Mucukunda，他用他的愤怒的目光烧死了卡拉亚瓦纳，把卡拉亚瓦纳烧成了灰烬之后，与此同时，在同一个山洞里有一个光辉灿烂的一位人物也存在于山洞当中。Mucukunda看到这位光辉灿烂的人物之后，他也想知道这位人物到底是谁呀？
In the next painting, you see how tall Mucukunda is in comparison to the height of Krishna.
在接下来的这张图片里，大家可以看到Mucukunda他身高如此的魁梧，比这个 Krishna 的个子要高多了。
Now, there's one explanation that says Mucukunda fighting in the heavenly planets, so much time had passed on Earth, and the height of Mucukunda was much taller.
那么这个原因是这样子的， 当木须昆达在天堂战斗的时候，地球上已经过去了好几个年代了。那木须昆达所在的那个年代呢，人们的身材是非常魁梧高大的。
Now, because it's very late, I don't know if you're going to have a chance to read all these verses of what Mucukunda says to Krishna.
因为现在的时间的原因，我不知道是否有足够的时间把后面的一一读到。现在荧幕上显示的是木须昆达想要知道是谁站在他的面前。
Well, Mucukunda asked, "Who are you? Are you this? Are you that? You so effulgent. You have 4 arms. How do I understand who you are?"
木须昆达想要知道您到底是谁呀？您是这个是那个？您拥有4臂，这个神采奕奕、光辉灿烂的人物，您到底是谁呀
Surabhi, do you have the Bhagavatam with you and you can read these verses?
？Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
Can you read the verse?
Yes.
So
Yes.
those of you who don't speak Chinese, you can find it on your device.
Yes, Maharaj.
You just start. I'm speaking to the people in the room here.
OK。那么现在呢，苏拉比来读一下这几个诗节，51章的36到43诗节。
Canto 10.
第10篇。第10篇第51章的36到43诗节。36诗节译文，至尊主说：“我亲爱的朋友，我曾投生千百万世，曾有千万生命形态，曾接受千万名字。实际上，我的出生、活动和名字是无限的，连我也不能数尽它们。”诗节37，一个人在许多事后可能数清地球上的尘土，但无人能罗列完我的名字、活动，我的品质、活动、名字和出生。38诗节，国王，最伟大的圣者们列举了我发生在3个时间阶段：过去、现在和未来的出生和活动，但他们从不能延及到他们的终点。第39到40，朋友，但我会告诉你有关我目前的出生、姓名和活动。请听，一段时间之前，主 Brahma 请求我保护宗教原则，摧毁成为地球负担的恶魔，因此我降生在亚度王朝安纳卡敦都比的家中。其实由于我是 Vasudeva 的儿子，请叫我 Vasudeva。诗节41，我曾杀死了作为康萨再次出生的卡拉内尼，还有帕朗巴以及其他虔诚者的敌人。而现在，国王啊，这具野蛮人被你的锐利一瞥，烧成了灰烬。42诗节，因为在过去你反复地向我祈祷，我便亲自来到这个山洞，向你展示仁慈，因为我钟情地爱着我的奉献者。43诗节，圣洁的国王，现在从我这里选择一些祝福吧，我会满足你所有的愿望。一个取悦了我的人，再不用悲伤。Yes, Kumar, I finished reading all the verses.
Did you read through verse 44, 43?
Yeah, 44. Yeah, 40.
43.
43 I already read. 44 I didn't.
Okay, fine.
Shukadeva. Yeah.
No. Stop.
Okay.
I want to say something.
Yes.
The most important thing out of all of this is
这一切当中
Mucukunda had received mercy from a devotee.
这一切当中最重要的一个环节是木须昆达他获得了奉献者的仁慈。
He heard about Krishna, just as all of us have heard about Krishna.
他聆听到了关于 Krishna 的讯息，就像我们大家现在聆听关于 Krishna 的讯息一样。
And he took that inspiration from Gargamuni into his heart, and he lived with it, and he prayed to Krishna regularly.
然后他把 Gargamuni 的激励铭记了 Gargamuni 对他的激励，一直铭记于心，从未忘记过，而且他经常的进行祈祷。
So he got mercy. He got mercy because there was a desire, and Krishna heard his prayers.
于是他得到了这样的仁慈，因为他通过祈祷表达了他的愿望，而且 Krishna 听到了他的心声。
That principle applies to each one of us.
这同一个原则适用于我们每一个人。
We don't have the power to fight battles on the heavenly planets with the demigods.
我们没有力量去到天堂和半神人们并肩作战。
But we have the power to desire Krishna's association and to serve his devotees.
但是我们有这种力量去获得 Krishna 的仁慈，获得和奉献者联谊的仁慈。
Krishna feels your affection for him.
我们有力量去向 Krishna 祈祷，获得他的仁慈，获得他奉献者的仁慈。Krishna 他会将这个仁慈给予你，给予我，给予大家。
Not only Krishna came, but Krishna is offering this benediction of anything at all that he wants.
那么 Krishna 他不仅聆听到了他的愿望，而且 Krishna 能够实现任何一个人向他表达的任何的心愿。
So now you can read the rest.
Yes, good night. 现在来读一下 Mucukunda 的谦逊和深刻的祈祷文。这是圣典博加瓦坛第10篇51章45诗节到57诗节。诗节45，哦，主啊，这个世界的人们无论男女，都被你的迷惑能量所迷惑。他们不知道真正的益处，不崇拜你，而是通过将自己纠缠于实为痛苦源泉的家庭事务，以寻求快乐。46，那怀着不洁心思的人，尽管出于某种方式自动的得到了高度进化的含有的人类形体。Guruji, it seems that there is a noise from your side.
I'm not making any noise.
Oh, sorry. Okay. 那些46，那些 now is okay。那些怀有不洁心思的人，尽管出于某种方式自动得到了高度进化的含有人类形体，却不崇拜您的莲花族。这样的人像个跌入暗井中的动物，坠入物质家庭的黑暗之中。诗节47。哦，不可征服的人啊！我已经浪费了所有这些时间，变得越来越沉醉于我作为地球国王的领域和富裕，错误地将必死的躯体认同于自己，变得依附孩子、妻子、财富、土地。我遭受着无尽的焦虑。诗节48。由于深深的愚昧，我将自己认同于躯体这像个罐子或一堵墙一样的物质对象。我认为自己是人中的神。我被战车夫、大象、骑兵、步兵、将领环绕着，行在地球上。我在迷幻的骄傲中漠视您。诗节49。一个人有他认为应该达成的事情，他被这样的想法困惑，极度贪婪、喜爱感官享乐。这样的一个人突然间被永恒 机警的灵挑战，灵在他面前以死亡呈现，就像一条饥饿的蛇在一只老鼠面前舔着毒牙。4节50，那身体先是高高的骑在猛象或壮士着金子的战车上，被称为国王之后，由于您不可思议的时间的力量，被称为变分，屈从灰烬。51，哦，主，一个征服了四方，免除了斗争，坐在辉煌的宝座上，接受那些曾与他平等的领袖们的赞誉。当他进入女子的内室，在那里寻求性事的享乐时，那他就像个宠物般被控制着。10节52，一位国王欲求比他已经拥有的更大的权利，便严格的履行职责，小心休息苦行，放弃感官享乐。但一个欲求如此强烈，想着我独立至高的人，不能得到快乐。10节53，当一个漫游的灵魂的物质生活已告结束，阿丘塔，他可能得到您奉献者的联谊。当他与他们联谊的时候，他内心对您的愤爱便被唤醒。您是奉献者的目标以及所有原因和结果之主。10节54，我的主啊，您已向我展示了仁慈，因为我对王国的依恋已自动的停息，这样的自由被众多的帝国的圣洁控制者们祈求，他们的愿望是进入森林，过一种孤寂的生活。55，全能的人啊，除了对您莲花族的服务之外，我不想要其他的祝福。这祝福被免于物质欲望之人最为强烈的寻求。哈利，哪有崇拜着赐予解脱的您的明智之人会选择一个引起他自己束缚的祝福呢？56，主啊，因此我将受制于激情、愚昧、善良属性的一切物质欲望的对象置于一旁，来接近您，至尊人格守神，寻求庇护。您不被世俗的名称所遮蔽，而是至尊绝对真理，充满纯粹的知识，超然于物质形态之上。10节57，因为这么长时间以来，我都为这个世界的麻烦而受苦，并一直被悲伤炙烤。我的6个敌人从不满足，而我找不到平和。因此，庇护的赐予者啊，至尊的灵魂啊，请保护我吧。主啊，我在危险之中，由于好运靠近了您的莲花族，这莲花族便是真理，使得一个人无惧无畏，并且免于悲伤。Yes, Gumad.
Okay. Because he had a desire, and he was a sincere devotee who served other devotees, Krishna gave him this benediction of anything he wanted.
因为他的这个愿望，并且他如此真诚地服务了 Krishna 的奉献者，于是 Krishna 祝福他能够实现他所有的心愿。
But he's very detached now from worldly aspirations, and instead he simply wants the shelter and service of Krishna forever.
但是他现在已经非常的不执着于这世界上的任何的物质的渴求，非常的气绝，只是一心一意的想要为 Krishna 从事奉爱服务。
Now the chapter is almost completed, but I want to cover a couple of verses that are within this final section we just read.
现在这一章呢，几乎结束了，接近于结尾的部分，但是仍然我想把这个结尾的部分的几个诗节来给大家概述一遍。
I invite you all to go through the Krishna book or the Bhagavatam Canto 10, Chapter 51, and read these over very carefully.
我邀请大家在课后非常仔细的去阅读《快乐的源泉》Krishna《快乐源泉》这本书，或者是《圣典博伽瓦坛》第10篇第51章的详细的阅读第51章的内容。
Now, because of our time, I'm not going to read this verse in detail, but it's found in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well as in Srimad Bhagavatam, which means it's an important verse.
由于时间的原因，我现在不详细的讲述这个诗节，但是这个荧幕上的这个诗节是圣典博伽法坛第10篇51章53诗节，这个诗节同时也出现在了 Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22章84诗节当中，所以可见这个诗节是至关重要的。
Please read the translation.
Yes. 当一个游荡的灵魂的物质生活息止的时候，阿丘塔，他便可获得您奉献者的联谊；而当他与他们联谊时，他便由内唤起对您的奉爱。您是奉献者的目标，是一切原因是一切原因及其结果的主人。
Those of you that are experienced devotees may have a question.
那些经验丰富的奉献者们可能会提出这样的一个问题
Why is Mucukunda saying that you get the association of devotees after your material life has ceased?
为什么Mucukunda在这里面说到了，当一个人的物质的生活停息的时候，那个时候他就能够获得奉献者的Krishna 的奉献者的联谊呢？他为什么这么说呢？
There's a particular literary ornament or alankar that is exhibited in this verse.
那么在这个诗节当中，有一个非常一个词语强调了，非常的强调了这一点。
It's a particular kind of emphasis. Deliberately, the natural sequence is reversed.
那么这个通过这个词呢，来强烈的强调，可能是以这个顺序颠倒的一种方式来强调的。
Please read.
Yes. Atisha Yukti 这个词是通过强烈的主张来进行强调，正是主的奉献者的联谊，让一个人超越了物质存在。
Again, it's the association of devotees that helps one transcend material existence.
正是主的奉献者的联谊，使得一个人超越物质存在之上。
The emphasis is being made in this verse about how important association of devotees is. Remember, that's how we started this whole class this morning, your time.
那么在这里非常强调的一点是，强调了与主的奉献者的联谊是多么的重要。正如我们在这节课开始的时候，一开始就讲到了 Mucukunda 他通过和 Garga Muni 的联谊得到了这样的祝福，因为他和奉献者的联谊，所以他最终能够面对面的见到 Krishna， 得到这样的祝福。
Lord Chaitanya taught Sanatana Goswami that spiritual life begins with association of devotees, and it's needed in the stage of perfection, association of devotees.
Sanatana Goswami 主 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 在教导 Sanatana Goswami 过程当中，就讲到了奉献服务始于与奉献者的联谊，并且在奉献者进行奉爱服务的过程当中的任何一个阶段，都离不开与奉献者的联谊。即便是到达了奉爱服务的完美的阶段，也离不开与奉献者的联谊。
In this verse, there's an inversion of sequence.
在这个诗节当中呢，表达的方式是表面上是以顺序的倒过来的方式以颠倒的顺序来表达了与奉献者联谊的重要性。
And that's a literary ornament.
而这个呢是文学上的一种修辞手法。
Please read.
Yes， 主的奉献者的仁慈的涟漪，让我们能有决心变得具有 Krishna 之觉。
So I'm going to invite you to read Krishna's final instructions.
所以我在这里邀请大家来阅读一下这一章节当中 Krishna 给出 Mucukunda 的最后的教导。
Because of time, I'm not going to ask Surabhi to read those verses, but I'll ask you to read after the class.
因为时间的原因，我在这里就不请 Surabhi 来给大家一一的阅读这几个诗节，也就是诗节58到63诗节的内容。所以我邀请大家在课后详细的去阅读这一部分的诗节的内容。
One of the things that Krishna expresses in these verses is that he was testing.
在这几个诗节当中 ，Krishna 要表达的是 ，Krishna 会给出考验。
It's not that Krishna didn't know that Mucukunda had no material desire. He wanted him to exhibit it, and that way he was testing him.
并不是 Krishna 不知道 Mucukunda 非常的气绝，一点都不依附物质的。一点都没有物质的渴求，而是 Krishna 希望 Mucukunda 将这一点展示出来所以 Krishna 以考验的方式让 Mucukunda 展示了这一点。
Please read.
Yes, Krishna 考验他的奉献者。至尊主说：“哦，帝王啊，伟大的统治者，你的心意纯洁强大。尽管我用赐福诱惑你，你的心意却不被物质欲望征服。”
Next.
要知道，我用赐福诱惑你，只是为了证明你不会被骗。我的纯粹奉献的志性，从不转向物质的祝福。
Now, it's a very special honor to be tested by Krishna.
被受到 Krishna 的考验，这是一个巨大的荣誉，巨大的荣耀。
Next week, we're going to hear about Rukmini.
下个礼拜下一个周四的讲课，我们会聆听 Krishna 考验 Rukmini。
There was a past time where Krishna tested Rukmini.
有一段逍遥时光，这段逍遥时光讲述了 Krishna 考验了 Rukmini。
He was expressing to Rukmini that I'm not really qualified to be your husband. You're such an exalted person. I'm this and I'm that, and maybe you should find another husband. And Rukmini fainted.
在这段逍遥时光当中 ，Krishna 向 Rukmini 这样表达说到了：“哦 ，Rukmini， 你是如此高尚的女子，而我根本就没有资格配当你的丈夫。我没有这个，我没有那个资格。也许你应该去找另外一个有资格的男士嫁给他。” 然后 Rukmini 听了这一些话之后，立刻晕倒过去了。
And Krishna picked her up and embraced her and said, I was just testing you. You have such love for me. I could never leave you, and all those nice things.
Krishna 看见 Rukmini 晕倒之后，他立刻抱起 Krishna 立刻抱起他，把他抱在怀里，然后对 Rukmini 说：“我只是在考验你，你如此的深爱着我，我也如此深爱着你，我怎么能够离开你片刻呢？”
Even Krishna tested the gopis.
Krishna 甚至考验了Vrindavan的gopis牧牛姑娘们。
Sometimes he would hide from them and they would go mad in separation from him.
有的时候 Krishna 会把自己藏起来，然后当 Krishna 把自己藏起来，牧牛姑娘们看不到他的时候，牧牛姑娘们发狂了，疯狂的四处寻找 Krishna 的踪迹。
Krishna knew the love of his loving associates, but sometimes he just wanted them to intensify their love in separation from him.
Krishna 他非常清楚他这些内心深爱着他的这些同游们对他的深爱之情，但是 Krishna 有的时候考验他们，通过这种考验来越发的加强他们对 Krishna 的爱，让他们的爱变得更加的强烈。
Here's another painting of the same.
这是另外一张图片，讲述了同一个Krishna 考验这些牧牛姑娘们的故事。
And after Krishna had hidden for some time, he would then show himself, and they were so happy to see him again.
当 Krishna 把自己藏起来，没有让这些牧牛姑娘们看到他之后，这些牧牛姑娘们非常的伤心。然后 Krishna 又出现在他们面前，当这些牧牛姑娘们再一次看到 Krishna 的时候，他们狂喜不已。
At the end of Krishna's talk with Mucukunda, he tells him that you will not go back to Godhead in this life, because as a king you killed many animals, and you have to atone for that killing of animals, but in your next life, you'll become my dear devotee.
那么在 Krishna 和 Mucukunda 的对话的最后的一个部分 ，Krishna 这样对 Mucukunda 说到了：“你这一辈子是是无法回归守神，回到灵性世界的。但因为你这辈子杀死了这么多的生物体、动物、飞禽走兽等等，所以你要为此进行极大的忏悔。然后在你下辈子的时候，你会成为我的奉献者。”
This whole pastime is narrated in other Puranas also.
这整个消时光，这整个的故事也在另外一部 Purana 宇宙古史当中讲到了。
In the Vishnu Purana, it says that Mucukunda headed for the Himalaya mountains.
在 Vishnu Purana、Vishnu 往事书或宇宙古史当中讲到了 Mucukunda 那个时候径直向北走，走到了喜马拉雅山。
Two of the places mentioned is the Gandha Mandana mountain.
那么这里面 Vishnu Purana 里面就提到了两个地方，一个地方呢是 Gandhamadana 山。
And the other place that's mentioned is Badrikashram.
还有另外一个地方提到的是 Badarika Ashram 这个地方。
This is a photograph, an aerial photograph of Badrikashram.
这是Badarika Ashram 的从这个天上设置的图片。
Now, I don't know when or how, but Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj urged me, sometime you have to take a group to Badrikashram, so one day we'll go.
那么 Bhakti Chaitanya 你曾经呢催促我带领奉献者去 Badarika Ashram 去朝圣，我也不知道什么时候能够实现，希望这一天能早日到来。
It's a little delicate to time it when the weather is okay and there's not mudslides and there's not too much this and too much that. It's a difficult decision to make because when the weather is best, it's too packed with tourists.
Oh yeah. 那么实际上呢，这个什么时候去这个地方朝圣呢？这是比较难以做出决定的，因为如果挑一个好时候去的话，那里肯定是人山人海，非常拥挤。
But we'll have to figure it out somehow. Krishna's give the intelligence.
那如果 Krishna 给予我们智慧的话，我们怎么着也能够想出一个恰当的时候，一起去朝圣这个地方。
Somehow we'll do it.
不管怎么样吧，我们会千方百计的做到这一点。
This is where Mucukunda went under Krishna's instruction to purify and atone for the mistakes that he had made while living as a king, and his next life he would become a great devotee.
这就是Mucukunda他按照 Krishna 的命令去做，为他在战斗当中杀死的这些生物体杀死了大量的生物体，去做出这个巨大的赎罪苦行。于是他来到了这两个地方 Gandamandala 山和 Badrikar Ashram 这两个地方做巨大的赎罪苦行，然后下一辈子他会成为 Krishna 的伟大奉献者。
Now, because of all the technology difficulty we had at the beginning,
因为在今天讲课一开始，由于我们遇到了技术上的巨大的问题，
I'm going to request that you send questions into the chat box or directly to Surabhi, and I'll respond to them at a later time.
那么我就在此邀请大家把问题呢发到这个聊天室里，然后或者是你们把问题直接发给 Surabhi， 然后 Surabhi 发给我，我会一一的来答复大家提出的问题。
So the plan is next time we get together, we'll find out what Krishna did after Krishna left the cave and encountered Jarasandha and so on. We'll just continue where we left off.
然后在下一次讲早课的时候，我们要讲的内容是在 Krishna 见到 Mucukunda 之后，离开这个山洞之后 ，Krishna 他又去会见，又遭遇了Jarasandha。然后下一节课的时候，我们会讲后面这个内容。
We'll hear about Krishna running from the battlefield from Jarasandha. We'll hear about Krishna deciding to go to Dwaraka. We'll hear about Balaram marrying his consort, Revati, and we'll hear about marriage with Rukmini. It's going to be an action-packed next time we're together.
我们已经聆听到了 Krishna 从战场上逃跑，然后在这里他见到了 Mucukunda。接下来Krishna 回到了 Dwaraka， 然后 Krishna 接下来是 Balarama 娶了他的妻子 Revati， 在此之后 Krishna 迎娶了 Rukmini。我们会一一的讲到这些内容。
And I hope we won't have the technology problem next time.
我在此也希望下一次周四早课的时候，我们不会遇到相同的技术上的问题。
So we'll see you Sunday evening.
所以我们下一次见。
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai, thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. 我刚才也非常感谢大家的耐心的聆听，今天非常的抱歉哈，有这个技术上的故障，耽误了一些时间。非常感谢大家的耐心和耐心的聆听，以及提出了这些问题，我已经把这些问题复制下来了，然后我在课后的时候我翻译给 Guru Maharaj， 然后 Guru Maharaj 会一一的回复大家。